Dearest Helen, this may be too much for Satsang, but I would love some insight and guidance. My elderly father, who I've written to you before about, took his life. My soul knows that it was perfect timing for his soul. I am blessed to have deeper insight, but my human needs more light to dissolve the guilt and pain it carries. It was a week ago now, and the pain obviously has been huge. Our hearts have been broken. Even though I know all is in order and that divinity decides what happens in this play of duality, the guilt that I didn't have enough light to dissolve his delusions plagues me, even though rationally I know we couldn't have done more. I feel that I could have. So even though rationally I know I couldn't have done more, I feel that I could have. Such guilt for feeling resentment at times, because it was almost as if he worked against us when we tried to help him. It was like a painful, unsolvable conundrum. He wouldn't tell doctors the full story, and if we tried, he'd deny that he was suicidal. When he was put on medication, he hated taking it and said that he wanted to stop. He was just a frightened little child in pain. Any insights would be greatly appreciated. Lots of love and appreciation. So maybe those feelings have settled down to some degree since you sent those in, because it was much more than a week ago now. But it's good that you're asking this kind of question, because it's something that we all feel, isn't it? And especially once we have some certain awareness of what we really are, our instinct, our impulse is to try to convey that to someone, especially someone who's in so much pain and suffering, someone who is in a very dark place inside their own being. But just looking at it from the sake of answering your question, guilt and resentment are the things that you've mentioned here. So guilt is coming from the idea that you didn't do enough, or you weren't enough, as you said here, this idea that you should have done more, you could have done more, and you should have tried harder, or some feeling, isn't it? Guilt is saying that you are, you've done something wrong, or you haven't done something right, something like that. But, looking at it even now, hopefully you can see that what happened, and there was nothing that you could have done differently in that moment. Your actions are coming out of your energy field, just as, your father's actions were too. And also to answer the resentment is coming from this sense that, why won't he listen? You said here he wouldn't listen, and he wouldn't tell the full story to medical staff. But that comes from the feeling of guilt and resentment comes from the sense that when we ask someone or tell them something, that they are actually hearing us, that they're actually really getting what we're saying. So if I say something to you that I really need you to hear, and you don't hear it, is it because I didn't communicate it clearly, or is it because something else is in the way of that? Even if we're communicating clearly straight from the emptiness, anybody that we're talking to, unless they're connected to, have realized their essential nature, is listening through their beliefs about themselves, their beliefs about everything, is literally diminishing what they can hear from us. So this idea that you could have or should have done something different, even if that was possible, and you said the magic words, it still wouldn't have been able to be absorbed completely inside. It helps to realize that everybody, when they believe they're a separate being, is hearing what they think we're saying, not what we're actually saying. And that's astonishing, isn't it? When you kind of get like, oh my goodness, Like, I've never had a real conversation with anyone actually until now. And if I have my beliefs about what's going on and they have their beliefs, then it's a wonder two human beings ever agree on anything, actually. So what you did or did not do is not at fault, and you could not have done anything differently. And he could not, the resentment, saying he should have listened more or something, but he couldn't do that either because he was listening through his beliefs. Perhaps his own belief that, that he wasn't good enough, or on some unworthiness in that way that led to this. So I hope that helps to give some insight. The whole premise of guilt is that I've done something and I should have done it differently, or I've not done something. Is it really possible to have done anything different? These words are coming out now. Could they be any different than they are? And whatever you're thinking about what I'm saying or not thinking, could it be any different than what I'm saying, than what it is now? So I hope that one helps, and I hope you're feeling even slightly better by this point.